Are we together? Are we together? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you are seeing me. Are you seeing me, ladies and gentlemen? Hello? Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't know that I'm online. I'm not claiming, as usual, taking you in paper one, general information of mature entry class of 2026. With those who are with us, who study with us, the whole of February, we are going to do national exams in June or late May, depending on the timetable the government is going to set for us. We are going to sit national exams, whereby if you pass the national exams, you'll go to the university to do the bachelor's of your choice, also depending on how you pass, and the subjects you select in paper 2. The people who have been calling us, we are Royal Institute training you in mature entry to prepare you for the national exams to come. This program is called Weekend Online Class. Those who want a physical class, you apply. We shall give you a physical class. For us, you have no problem. Our work is to teach. Our work is to render service. We shall give you a physical class, even if you want in Kampala, even if you want the class in Germany or in America, we shall organize the class. Somebody asks, do you have a physical class? You apply and see if we shall fail to teach you. Our work is to teach. We shall teach you whichever class. But those who applied, they applied for the online weekend class. That's why it's the one we are giving them. Now, during the day, we were discussing the course outline of paper 1, language skills. Now, we are going to discuss pre-colonial era, part of the general knowledge. Pre-colonial Uganda look like before the colonialists. For this case, Uganda, Britain. How did it look like? Just as I told you during the day, that I'm going to give you briefly. But this era of technology, of social media, of YouTube, you're going to make your own research. I'm going to give you the headings because we have a lot to cover. The government decided, or the ministry decided to see that for you to join the university, you must know this basic information. You are not going to dig deep into the details of pre-colonial era, the name of the king, who ruled this, who married this one, and no. For us, we shall give you the general knowledge. But when we are revising, making revision, preparing for the exams, passing through the past papers, we shall be tackling one by one. But doesn't stop you from making your own research. Just go to Google, type pre-colonial Uganda, and then you begin to read and make your own research. I know you know, but let us prepare. So our slogan here in mature entry, let us prepare. You know, but you are not prepared. So let us help you to prepare for the national exams. Those who are grade 3 teachers, certificates of diplomas from the other faculty want to come to another faculty. Those who have degrees from Rwanda, from Kenya, equating them, your degrees becoming hard. You, everybody who stopped in senior 3, senior 6, you didn't pass well, please come to mature entry class. The shortcut, it is going to save you a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of efforts. And being that this is online, you shall only meet at the time of the exams, and only when it allows you to work. It gives you time to work and time to save at the same time. So that means when you reach university, still you apply for a course which will be convenient for you. Now, what is the pre-colonial Uganda looking like if we look at it now? How did it look like? How did Uganda, from border to border, from the border of Lake Albert to Busia, look like? From Kibale to Arua, how did Uganda look like? First of all, right, there was no Uganda by then. The word Uganda, the map Uganda, the country Uganda was not there. Hello? Uganda was not there. What did we have is what we are going to discuss, but in a brief, because I want you people to make research, you adults. Remember, we are teaching adults, and by exactly 9, Mr. Menebe will be here. Uganda by then was not Uganda, but this is how it was. I'm going to talk about how it was organized politically or administratively. We had kingdoms. Basically, we had about 3 to 4 kingdoms. We had Bunyoro Kitara kingdom, or we call it an empire because it was big. The Bachwezi Empire was covering even the whole of East Africa, including Rwanda and parts of Congo. So that's why it is called an empire. It first covered even Buganda kingdom. By then, there was no Buganda kingdom. Then later on, these people were the Bachwezi. They covered Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, parts of Uganda, Great Lakes region, Rwanda. That was the Bachwezi dynasty, the Bachwezi Empire. And this empire was led by the Bachwezi kings, and these people were demigods, that they just disappeared. That's what history is telling us. They just disappeared. They are semi-gods, let me say, over their spirit, something like that. Then when these people left, we got the Batembuzi. Now I don't know before Batembuzi and the Bachwezi, which one was before which one. The Batembuzi were also demigods, they just disappeared. And the last king was called King Isaza, who disappeared underground. He's the one who is bringing earthquake. Then after the Batembuzi, we got the Babito. The Babito are the ones who are ruling Bunyoro up to now. Those ones were led by Kato Chimera, who went to Buganda, and Ukidi Mpuga, who became the king of Bunyoro, and this dynasty belongs to Ukidi Mpuga. By the time of the colonists to come to Africa, to Uganda, the king who was there was King Kabarega, and this king was at war with Uganda all the time, and most of the times Uganda was winning. And by the time of the colonists came to Uganda or to Buganda, King Mutesa I was ruling Uganda. So these kingdoms were highly developed, civilized. Some of them had to write. Okay, we had even the Ankole kingdom, led by Omugabe, Toro kingdom led by Omukama, then Busoga. By then there was no Busoga kingdom. That one came later. You'll make research to confirm what I'm telling you or to contradict. There were chiefdoms from different counties. The time when they came together to form Busoga kingdom was later, but before they were chiefdoms. Then we have the Uganda kingdom, which was led by the kings, the Baganda kings, Kabaka, clan leaders. By the way, Buganda was also formed from chiefdoms. One time it was chiefdoms. Buganda means Emiganda, putting together bundles of chiefs to make the kingdom Kabaka of Buganda. Different bundles put together. Those are the different chiefs who were put together, or chiefdoms put together to make Buganda kingdom after breaking from the Bachwezi dynasty, empire. So we had the Mutesa I, we had the Muchwa. Chua was made king when he was a baby. Is it 3 years? So he was represented by regents, 3 regents. One of them was Sir Apolokagwa, named after that road, which is going to Makerere, called Sir Apolokagwa. For signing the 1900 Buganda Agreement, which led Uganda to independence. So you can go to Google and type the 1900 Buganda Agreement. Don't expect me to give you everything. Actually, I'm supposed to give you like 20%. The 80% you make research yourself. Then we shall meet in the revision time. Then you have the Soking, as I've told you, the chiefdoms, we have together the chiefs. Then the Ankole kingdom, the Toro kingdom. Then in the north there, Lango sub-region, Acholi sub-region, even the Iteso somewhere there, we had chiefs. Maybe you know better than me. We had chiefs and chiefdoms. Most of the people in the new Uganda, in what you call Uganda now, were scattered and just in groups. These groups were formed for security purposes. Some were not even organized at all. So let us look at how the defense or how they were fighting. These kingdoms basically were formed for security reasons because they used to attack each other. Chiefdoms were attacking each other to conquer, to raid, to take cattle, and so many other things. So they had to make armies. In Bunyoro, we had the Abarisura. In Uganda, we had the army. How was the army called? Abambowa. Yeah, the guards or whatever. So they built the palaces, what we call a state house. By then, we had the palaces and the headquarters of kingdoms. Chieftains. So we had the armies, which were using spears, arrows, pangas, and all those types. So with the time after the introduction of the slave trade or the Indian Ocean trade, weapons, guns were introduced into what we call Uganda now, or into that region we are discussing for now as I'm talking. So some kingdoms had guns from those Arabs who came, but of course guns of that time were not like the guns of the Europeans. But they were so much sophisticated in war, they are so much organized, especially the kingdoms, and very resistant, and they gave headache to the colonialists until the colonists came for peace in signing agreements. Somebody saying I'm very fast. I'm very fast. You have to make your brain fast. You comment here. If I'm very fast, I can reduce the speed because you are my bosses. So the transport system at that time, pre-colonial period, was moving on foot. But the caravans had horses, but not so much like it was like in Central, like in the Middle East, the Arabs and the Israelis. Here in Uganda, most it was people were using foot. But the roads were very big. People could dig the roads, especially in Uganda. People could wake up, they make the drum, people come, they dig the roads, highways, footpaths, they dig the wells using their own hose. And these hoses were coming from the Indian Ocean trade. So the trading was so much, and there was money, by the way, cowrie shells after butter trade. And this trade was basically centered from the Indian Ocean for Uganda. From the Indian Ocean, basically those Arabs. That is where things go to us when slave trade was also introduced. Ugandans or Africans were raided, and strong, able-bodied men were taken into slavery, rendering civil wars, rendering us powerless because the powerful people had gone. The educational system was around the fireplace. People were children, boys and girls were parents or elders. In Uganda, we had the auntie, the brother, the father was the one who was your professor. The professor was the auntie, the sister to your father. And then another professor was the uncle. The brother to your mother as a man was your trainer. They could train them in war, they could train them in medicine, nursing, medicine, midwifery. By the way, we had a lot of skills in midwifery in Africa or in Uganda here as per se. Up to now, those traditional birth attendants are there and they are working very well with a lot of experience. So we had different types of drugs or herbs which people could use to treat themselves. People think that we didn't have drugs. That is a lie. How comes we are healthy? People are now getting cancer, which were not even there. So the education system, though was not documented, was very good, and we enjoyed it very well. Not only when somebody is going to get married, different skills brings carpentry, building, hunting, leadership skills, like the children of the kings. They are trained in a certain place, different places where they were trained in leadership skills. The chiefs, their children were also trained. Though kingdoms were managed hereditary, but still we had the chiefs in the curriculum. The prime minister was not hereditary. He was only just appointed by the ruler depending on somebody's talents or capacity. So people were trained hands-on, like a carpentry, like a making, etc. And in Uganda especially, everything was centralized. The judiciary was very effective, right from the village. So the king was the chief judge. Owini Doro, by then, was the king or the chief. He could decide whether somebody dies or somebody does, ABCD. So religion, we had religion. And we were worshipping the real God. Some people think that before the colonials, Africans were worshipping Satan. Not exactly. Even today, some Africans or even whites are worshipping Satan. So it doesn't mean that because we are blacks, we are worshipping Satan. No, some people are worshipping the real God, the creator of heaven and earth, and one God. Others were worshipping other gods or Satan, let me say, for that. So worshipping places are different from healing places. It was after the colonials came with their missionaries that people began to hide worshipping places into the background. But these worshipping places were in the front yard. They began to be embarrassed because they called their worshipping things Satan. Kumbe, some of them also brought Satan, who is in a white suit. So the clothing we used to put on was back cloth. We had shoes. That is the religion we had was basically culture or traditional religion. Because they made our things to look bad because they wanted to colonize us. So we hated everything, but not everything was there before colonial period was bad or evil or satanic. No, not everything. Some things were good. So what the colonists did is to make us hate everything to do with us. There's nothing bad with the back cloth. And by now, if we had stayed with that back cloth, it would be better. We would have advanced, we would have modified and modernized it, could be even better than what we are putting on now. So it was everything was, there was a little difference depending on the tribe and the place. And I'm wondering, people at that time were very healthy. They could move on foot from Kampala to Bunyoro here. How many kilometers are there? About 500 kilometers. One day somebody comes and goes back. Somebody was telling me there was a news reporter from Bunyoro Kingdom could ride a bicycle from the kingdom here in Hoima to take the news to Masindi just one day and then go back to Bulisa. And people are very healthy. They are eating healthily. Healthy foods, fresh foods. That is the pre-colonial era. The language by then was the local language. Like in Uganda, they could speak Luganda. Bunyoro, they could speak Bunyoro. Busoga, they could speak Busoga. That was the local language. There was no English. There was no English by then. English to come with the colonial. Somebody saying me, now we are supreme country, we are independent. Why are you speaking English? If I begin to speak language, we got independent, of course, partially. They are still our lords. We have to fight to get out of their hands, but with a lot of strategy. We can't just wake up and we say we are stopping to speak English. The curriculum we are using is theirs. The language, you can't separate us from English. The official language is English. Even the education system is still a colonial type of education system. Most of what we are studying is unnecessary. There is no use of an engineer cramming the parts of a flower, parts of a rat, parts of a what, parts of a tree, when I'm going to be working electricity. So that curriculum is still theirs. There's a lot of colonial evidence in Uganda. So who brought up Uganda? Those are the colonists. Next weekend, we shall meet with the colonial era. Actually, I will give you colonial era and independence era. Colonial era maybe Saturday, independence era maybe on Sunday. The answers because you have not done my work. Please submit that work before I give you the answer. I've seen only 2 people who submitted it. I gave you grammar questions yesterday. You have not submitted. I see only 2 people. So by Saturday, I'll give you the answers and mark you and give you marks. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being with us. You comment. Can I get a comment? 1 or 2 comments? May I get 1 or 2 comments? Sorry for being fast. Some people have left them. I'm very sorry. I'm going to reduce the speed next time. I will use the speed next time. People who want to apply, just send your documents. For this case, or mature entry, your national ID. Send your national ID my inbox and send application fees. I'm going to give you admission. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for attending. We met in the bursary group.